Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to have and privileged to have former Pakistan captain Mr. Ramiz Raja with us. Ramiz bhai, thanks a lot for doing this with me.
Anytime, Chandresh, anytime.
Ramiz bhai, let's start at the beginning of your career. Who are your early heroes? Your father played for Multan, if I'm not mistaken. Your two elder brothers played cricket as well. Who was your hero growing up?
Well, clearly my elder brother, because in those days, in early 80s, Test cricket was something extremely special. You could count the numbers on your fingertips, and you really had to be extremely good to be part of the Pakistan cricket team in those days. So he was my inspiration, but he's completely different to my set of skills. He was more natural, more flamboyant, more for the crowd, for the gallery kind of a player, more of an entertainer. Whereas my father always wanted him to become a Test cricketer, actually. So I was the add-on. I was the, by an accident kind of a cricketer in our family. But everyone wanted Wasim Raja to be the Test player. In fact, my grandfather also played cricket in Gujranwala. So it runs in the family that way.
And when you made it to the Pakistan team with your elder brother also in the side, did you feel a sense of pride? And were you in awe of him when you entered the dressing room?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you an interesting story. You know, I was playing my first one-day international against New Zealand. And so we had a monumental task in those days, you know, to get 7, 8 and over in the last 20 overs with 3 or 4 wickets in hand was considered an impossible task. These days, you can pull it off probably. And so I was batting with my brother, and I was getting worried about his self-being because he wanted to hit because the run rate was skyrocketing. I wanted him to stay out there, but because I was playing my first ODI, he didn't want me to get under pressure. So we met after an over. He said, "Look, you don't take any chance. I'll take the chance, and if I get out, so be it." And he took the chance, got out. And so that is, I always perceived him as an elder brother. You know, at home also he would be a protective brother, and he was protective of my scalp when we were batting together. So it was a strange kind of an experience, but a very good one.
Ramesh bhai, I remember one incident at MCG when you were fielding and you went over the picket fences and everybody tried all sorts of desi ilaj to get you back on your feet. Do you still remember that moment?
Of course I did. I do, actually, because, you know, in those days, Melbourne boundary was about 120 yards. And so you didn't know where the pickets were, where the boundary ended. And they had those protruded sort of fencing, which was hazardous, clearly. And because that hit was of my elder brother, I wanted to maybe overdid it, and it was Sirikant, I think, who middled that ball beautifully. And I didn't know where the boundary was. And so I hurt my rib cage. I couldn't breathe for a second or two, and he got worried. I mean, the look on his face is priceless. I mean, that's a real worried look of an elder brother.
Ramesh bhai, then you enter the most important phase of your career between 86 and 92, when you really became the cornerstone of Imran Khan's team. You guys won Test series in India and England. You won. You came close to winning in West Indies, but for some umpiring. You won Australia Cup twice, Nehru Cup, and you were in form in all those 6 years. Was that the best phase of your career, and how much of it is due to Imran?
Oh, entirely because of Imran, because he made us the players that we were. Actually, half a player became a full player under his guidance, because he would G you up and he would back you completely. So if he saw a bit of a talent in you and it was useful for the team, he'll always back you. And this was a great time to play cricket for Pakistan as well, because we were in a very engaged environment, cricket environment, where there was only talk about cricket, no money matters were discussed ever. No sort of selfish milestones were ever discussed. And I tell you a great story of Imran as a leader. You know, Javed Miadad against India, this would have been before my time. So maybe 81, 82 series, where he got 280, and then Imran declared the innings at Hyderabad, and Javed never forgave him and never accepted that he was so close to getting a 365, and because of Imran's declaration, he couldn't get to a 300 and then possibly a 365. And so this was Imran batting against Sri Lanka at Faisalabad, maybe in the early 90s. And he was batting on 96 and he declared the innings, Imran. Just to prove the point that, individual milestones are important, but not that important that come in the way of winning a contest for your country. And so that is the kind of guy we're talking about. So he instilled in us the value of winning for the team and doing well for the team and for the country. And I think that is the reason why some of us do not have mighty great records, because records didn't really matter to our captain. It was about winning. And so if you look at the winning percentages, they were humongous. They were absolutely brilliant under Imran's captaincy.
The crowning glory was obviously the 92 World Cup.
Yes, I mean, but before that, we were battle hardened. Right throughout, we were challenging ourselves. We would want to play against West Indies, the mighty Windies of the 80s, and then go and beat England in England. Let's not forget what we achieved against India in India. In those days, it was extremely tough to beat India at home. We achieved that feat as well. And so we were ready for the 92 World Cup. And the best thing about sort of batting under Imran or playing under Imran was that he was so keen to get us either winning or maybe trying to win. And if he went on to lose the game, it was fine. So he took out the draw mentality out of us. And so even when we were sort of trying to draw a contest, we were actually being aggressive, fighting within ourselves that we are not going to lose this. So he had actually drummed this sort of madness to not get beaten so well at our impressionable ages that, winning the 92 World Cup, from where we came back from nowhere, we were the underdogs. People had written us off completely. Somebody had to lose for us to get through. And still to survive and do well and win the World Cup was because of that, bullheaded mentality.
Ramiz bhai, I was just researching, and 3 very interesting dismissals of yours came against, or rather 2.5 dismissals of yours came against England. First was the 87 Perth Challenge Cup, when you got caught off a no ball and you started walking and then you got run out. Then you got out obstructing the field.
It wasn't supposed to be given, actually. So
yeah. You got obstructing. You got obstructing the field. You are the first batsman in ODI cricket history to be given out obstructing the field. And the third was in the 92 World Cup final when Graham Hick missed a hit. So what was it about England that brought about these kind of funny moments for you?
Well, I didn't realize that, I was such a silly individual against only one side, which was England. But 92 World Cup, I just couldn't hear the no ball shout because it was jam-packed. We're talking about 80,000 people cheering for us. And I still remember, I think it was Amir Sohail who was batting with me then. And I walked up to him and said, I am not able to pick the ball because the sun was straight on the pitch and it was a white pitch. So I was missing the white ball when it hit the good length area. So I was struggling to really locate the ball. And then suddenly this incident happened. That Mike Getting incident, I didn't know about the rules at all. So I just happily walked out of the scene, out of the crease. And then what was the third one? The obstructing the field incident. Yeah. That was out of frustration. I mean, because, this was my under-19 mate that was playing with me, Zahid Ahmed. And I now can recall clearly because I told him just before that ball that, look, we're not going to win this game, or probably we're batting first, I'm not too sure. And that we're going to run for 2, irrespective of where the ball goes, actually. And so I flicked one to deep backward square leg, and I started taking the run, first one quickly, and then he refused. He just jammed at the non-strike, at the striker's end. And I came halfway down in frustration because the ball was locked by the keeper trying to hit the stumps at my end. And in frustration, I hit it back to square leg boundary. And so England politely appealed and I was given out. And I didn't realize that there was this law obstructing the field.
Ramiz bhai, tell honestly, 92 final, when that last wicket was being taken, the ball went up. Were you praying that it doesn't come to you because it was the captain bowling, and if you dropped, you would have to hear about it?
Yeah, I mean, Imran will let you know, and he still can count how many times catches of his bowling were dropped. Just the other day, I was recalling this incident. He had come in to watch a game against Zimbabwe. This was about 2, 3 years back, and suddenly he looked at square leg region, and I had come to say hello to him, and he said, "Remember, you dropped Gordon Greenwich at deep backward square leg." Which was like in mid 80s. I said, but Imran Bhai, he got out after scoring only 20 or 21. He retorted saying, no, but the partnership was worth 40, 45. And so, so it was an important catch. I mean, probably the most important catch of my life because you never drop a catch of Imran's bowling. And the moment that ball went up in the air, I heard just one sound of Imran shouting, "Catch it, Rambo!" And so that was it. I had to catch it. And you see, in the periphery, also I could see that the stumps had been taken out as souvenirs. So if I had dropped that catch, it would have been murderous, absolutely murderous.
Ramesh bhai, but right after the 92 World Cup, you were part of the team for 1 year. You won the England Test Series, and then
Yeah.
Javed Miandad was replaced as captain. You got out of the side. You were left out of the side. Was that a tough phase because you had to go and play for Pakistan? Here you are, world champion, and then going away from the side and having to captain a second string side in Bangladesh. Was that a tough phase for you those 2 years?
Yeah, very tough phase because we were so settled under Imran, and so it was extremely difficult to adjust under the new captain or captains, and it became a very very bad game then because of poor management at the PCB level. Players uh, were forced to fight for their positions, and hence the groupism. Five would side with one individual, five with the other, then the match fixing saga and all that kind of stuff. Um, and so it became almost impossible for me to concentrate and find a regular place because there were vested interests, there were other motives at play other than cricket. And I got hammered because I was in neither of the camps. And it started to hurt my cricket, my focus. I just gave it up mentally because I wasn't enjoying it, being part of the dressing room environment.
Did you feel an odd man out in that environment?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I came from a different background. I'm not saying that these guys didn't have any background, but it was more kind of a no nonsense kind of a background, more amateurish in perspective and outlook. I wasn't a thoroughbred professional as such because I got things easy in my life. My father was a civil servant. I went to good school, and then I was university graduate also. So my idea of playing cricket was very different to the idea that was being preached in that dressing room environment, and I just lost interest.
But even in that phase, you got captaincy twice, but you never really had the first choice attack to build on
Yeah,
it. Did the
yeah.
captaincy come as a surprise because there were so many captains around in Pakistan in that late 90s?
Yeah, I mean, I could understand where the board was coming from because they wanted a clean environment, a clean dressing room, which could just concentrate on the game of cricket. And we were coming out of an extremely turbulent time where everybody was being pointed at for selling the game and all that kind of stuff. So I was the regulator in a way, and so but then I had to make them play for Pakistan, and so I don't know whether I got 100% from the players because the motive they felt was different to just captaining them, and the motive was to clean the air, clean the act, have a perfect cricket dressing room. It may have not connected well with some of the players. That's the reason why I never got the backing of all 11. I would say at times. But I've got no regrets because you see, I tried my level best. I was given a job, I had to do it. It was a difficult job because you see, these guys were in the circuit for a very long time, and they didn't want to be tutored uh, you know, by a regulator. Uh, you know, trying to tell them the values of life and values of cricket and all that kind of stuff. I think they weren't just hooked on to it at all.
Were you disappointed that it ended abruptly after the Sahara Cup, thanks to Saurav Ganguly?
I can never forgive Saurav Ganguly because he was a real tormentor, but it had to end. And I decided that, time is up. In those days, if you were 34, 35, it was time to pack up and go. But the good thing is that I decided to leave on my own terms. It wasn't as if, I went out on a low and sort of wanted to come back again, and I was not given an opportunity for another comeback. I decided that, I've got to move on. And I thought it was a difficult decision, but a correct decision as well.
You slipped into commentary very easily. No one forgets your funny interviews, post-match interviews with Inzamam, and later on, even recently with Shoaib Malik, even though what's happening right now. But was slipping into commentary the natural progression for you?
It's quite funny, actually. During that Sahara Cup, I would go and do this press thing after every loss. And so in the end, I got tired because we got thrashed, 4-1 or something like that. And so this lady who's from one of the broadcasting company, she would accompany me. And so every time I would say that, do I need to be there again? Because they're asking me the same questions. I've got nothing more new to add to the misery. He says, no, but you need to be there. But when are you retiring? When are you retiring? So it was such an odd question that was being asked by that broadcaster lady. And I said, why are you asking me this question? He says, because we need a commentator from Pakistan. And I think we would desperately need for a new voice, and you could be a perfect match. And I just looked at her, as if she's just punched me on my jaw. And I said, well, this is not the right time really to be asking me such questions. But I think, you're absolutely right, because there's this opening, and I slipped into that opening quite naturally. And so I got a head start as well.
And you had some funny moments with Inzamam and with most of the cricketers.
Inzamam is an extremely funny guy. He's got fantastic dry humor. And I've got a lot of time for Inzamam because I thought he was a special talent and asset for Pakistan.
And when he got out obstructing the field, you also quizzed him on who was the first guy to get obstructing the field out. That was a moment to remember.
Yeah, I mean, I had so many good moments with Inzi because you see, when he opened up eventually, I thought he was good to talk to also because I can't forget his one-liner, because this was one of the test matches after the game. A kid whom I know, wanted to meet and shake hands with Inzi. So I took him to Inzamam and says, Inzi sir, I've got a question to ask. And says, my question is, how do you play Muralidharan? And so Inzi looked at me, looked at the kid, and says, better you not play him at all. It's quite funny.
Ramiz, is humor an important part of your style of being on television? Because you're quite humorous, and most of your interviews are very light and not very heavy on people's mind. Is humor an important part of your style?
I think the idea is, after a while, this seriousness goes out of the window because you're mostly repeating yourself. A good cover drive will remain a good cover drive in 1990 or 2019 or 20. Not a lot is going to change. So I think it's how you present that cover drive and what is behind that cover drive. And you've got to be as natural as possible. I think at times people come across on the mic as if they're being a little shifty and trying to sort of do something which they're not. So I think if you remain as natural and let that personality come out, and cricket is an easy medium to do that, because once you go out to bat or bowl, you can clearly see what an individual is all about, because that one delivery or that one shot or that one innings will sum up the entire personality for you. You look at Rahul Dravid and straight away, even before you've met, you know that he's a dogged personality. He likes to defend his wicket, and so he takes nothing for granted in life. With VVS Lakshman, you see, he's a stylist, and look at how he dresses up. This is exactly how he was when he was playing the game as well. So you can pick out these little things these personality traits when an individual goes out to bat or bowl. And similarly, over the mic, you can make out, what a person is about. So if I come across as a happy-go-lucky kind of a guy, if I come across as someone who likes to enjoy the sport and can be funny at times, this is exactly how I am in real life as well.
But you did a role which was quite serious at times, and that was the role of the CEO of PCB. How challenging was that role?
Oh, mighty challenging actually, because we had only 15 days to prepare for that Indian series. Because Mr. Vajpayee was in probably two minds whether to send the team or not, and finally we got the message that Indians are coming, and we had about 15, 20 days to prepare, and it was like mad rush, like this COVID-19 situation where every day you see governments, making decisions. That is what we were going through. And so, I mean, that 2004 series was a remarkable series to organize and to be engaged in, because we saw fantastic matches. We saw fantastic bonding between Indian fans and Pakistani fans. And so it was a remarkable series to work on. And otherwise also there were issues, small issues, but got politicized. It's not easy. The working conditions in any other cricket boards in subcontinent, in SAARC countries, is not an easy matter, because cricket at times takes a back seat, and other issues crop up which are not relevant and not important, yet they're forced to become important by the vested interested people, and so it can be hazardous at times.
So never again PCB?
Well, I've had my fill, and I think I believe in moving on, and because I've played the game, I think it doesn't interest a lot of ex-cricketers, because you see, at times, you want to hold on to that job because it gives you a great seat. You become popular overnight, you become important overnight, and you want to hang on to that importance. Whereas, ex-cricketers, because we've seen it all, we've seen the highs and lows, and we know such things don't really matter to us. As long as we are being true to ourselves, as long as we are saying things without any agenda, without any bias, without any politics involved, we feel extremely comfortable and confident as individuals. So I've seen that phase. It was a great phase. I enjoyed it. But now, time to move on.
One interesting thing about you is that you are very fit, and you pay attention to what you eat, and you spend a lot of time on your fitness. When did that come about? It's almost a change from your playing days, would it be?
Not really, Chandresh. I think it stays with you from under 19 years. When you're playing this sport, and so under Imran, running was compulsory. Sprints were compulsory. Even on an off day, we'd go and be in the gym, and so it was important for Imran to not only keep himself fit, but the entire unit be as fit as he was. So we're talking about diet. When I was 20, 21, we're talking about fitness regime. We're talking about running between the wickets and fielding and diving. So it has stayed with me. So it's part of me. It's not that I've just recently started it. And some guys find it very tough if they start late in life to suddenly start jogging, because your system is not tuned enough to take on that pressure. Whereas, we cricketers mostly are geared for this kind of a regime from under 19 years.
And who gave you the nickname Rambo? How did that come about?
Well, I think Imran was behind it, because you see, this was in India. There were ladies sitting, some foreigners, and so the team was invited to that dinner. So I got introduced as Ramiz, and this lady, I think from Portugal, couldn't understand the pronunciation, and so Imran then said, "Forget about Ramiz. We call him Ram, and in fact, when he bats well, he becomes a Rambo." So I mean, something like that.
One burning question that everyone wants to know is, who's a bigger Kishore Kumar fan, you or Sanjay Manjrekar?
Oh, clearly, yours truly. Actually, I introduced Kishore to Sanjay Manjrekar because Sanjay was into music. He liked Kishore, but he wasn't as massive a fan as I was. So I said, look, you've got to listen to this genius. But he sings much better than I do. And so I've converted him into a Kishore Bhakt as well.
One Kishore song that sums up your life in your view? And you don't have to sing, just a line.
I don't know. I mean, the 10,000 Kishore songs. And by the way, I heard him live just before his death, 2 months before he died. You see, we were on a tour in England in '87. And this was at NEC Birmingham. And so I took a train with Shoaib Mohammed. We both went and we saw him sing live. And so he died later in the year, unfortunately. But you know, zindagi ke safar mein guzar jate hain jo muqam wo फिर नहीं आते गम का फसाना बन गया अच्छा पल पल दिल के पास तुम रहती हो there's so many great Kishore songs.
Final question, Ramiz bhai, a message from you to the fans on this COVID-19 situation and one thing they can do to keep themselves active and fit during these times.
Yeah, I think stay indoors. There's responsibility on your shoulders, and responsibility is to not go and meet people. I know that boredom can kill you, but that's how we need to address the situation. Social distancing, not hugging people, not shaking their hands. It's about another month or two and it'll blow over, inshallah. So I'm just hoping that if we stick together, not as a country, but as a region, as a world, we can beat this, but just lying low. It's a massive sit-in period. Like in Test match cricket, you have your sit-in period where you don't attack, where you just sit and wait for the opponent to make mistakes. So, and when the opportunity comes, then you pounce on them. And this is exactly how it has to be treated. So you just sit in, wait for it to blow over, and then you come back as a stronger individual. Because I think it's a fabulous time for introspection. Look at what you've achieved in life. Look at how important or unimportant the materials are. The money matters. For example, I've had 1,000 rupee on my table now for 15 days. I've not been able to spend it. So suddenly that 1,000 rupees is looking like 100,000 rupees because you're not buying anything except the daily routine stuff. So money, you can actually experience the fact that money is not important. It's your sehat. It's how you deal with a crisis situation. Your temperament is being tested. So all I ask of the fans and all I ask of the people that stay indoors, defeat it by sitting in.
Thanks a lot, Ramiz bhai. It was really enjoyable, very nostalgic. Thanks a lot for doing this with me.
Thank you. Good questions. Thanks a lot, Chandra.
Thanks a lot. Bye.